Hi folks, good afternoon. I hope you're having a good Friday and you're getting set for a really great weekend as well. Well, we are here with Who Moved the Market. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay and with me on the show today is Nimesh. And the reason we've got Nimesh here is it's Friday, right? So Friday, typically you think movies. We've got a pot boiler for you, and this one is a market and business pot boiler. We're talking Zee Entertainment. I don't know whether it's been entertaining, Nimesh, for you, because this whole story is pretty complex. Yeah. It's been ongoing for a year and a half. So I don't know, do you feel entertained with so much going on?
You know, Surabhi, this reminds me of the way, everybody used to watch the big programs on Zee and Sony both. Like,
the big soaps.
The soaps. Will go on for years and years and years, and every now and then you'll have some twist, somebody dying, somebody reborning and all. Like, it was all crazy, right? So that's exactly what's happening with Zee as well.
It's a real life corporate soap playing out.
Corporate soap playing out. A big saga which is going on for more than a year now, between a merger between Zee and Sony. So every now and then you'll keep hearing the twists and turns. Yeah. But it looks like they're heading towards eventually they're heading towards the merger. But I guess even before they hit that, I guess there will be further more roadblocks, down the line for them to face.
So we're going to talk about all of that. This whole talk about the Zee-Sony merger. You've been hearing this for a year and a half right now. Today's developments. Let's start why today is important and why we need to look at this story today. Because at least for the time being, it's advantage Zee. Yeah. The company has managed to get relief from the NCLAT against an insolvency plea, which IndusInd Bank, which is one of the creditors, they had moved to the NCLT, the lower court. They had filed for insolvency against Zee. Zee went to the higher court, which is NCLAT, the appellate tribunal, and from there Zee has managed to get a stay. The reason why, Nimesh, I think, and we've been discussing this right in the newsroom for the past couple of days, the reason why this insolvency process would have completely derailed everything for Zee is because the whole merger, the Sony-Zee merger would have fallen off the tracks, perhaps, or at least gotten delayed, if not fallen off.
Absolutely.
If they had started insolvency against this company.
Correct. So in that context, today's NCLT order is very, very positive. It is give them a breather for the merger to go through. Now the next NCLT hearing, as our reporter also put out, that it's going to be on March 29th. So that's something to watch out for. But I guess this is going to be an overhang on the whole process as well. So whether it will get derailed, the answer is no. But whether it will get delayed further, the answer is probably yes. That will further delay the process to some extent.
Okay, so there's some legalities here. So bear with us and kind of follow this carefully. So what we've just established is right now at the NCLAT, hearings will continue to decide whether an insolvency plea should be admitted against Zee. There are a lot of arguments going on over there. I mean, I don't want to get into too many details, but basically, Zee has been a guarantor, or at least a partial guarantor, to some loans taken by Citi. Citi was another SL Group company which had financial problems. Zee today argued in the courts that it is not a complete guarantor to the entire loan. It is only a guarantor to some part of the loan, to the interest component. This is something that the bank is challenging, IndusInd Bank is challenging. How this plays out, we don't know. Those hearings will continue. But simultaneously, and Nimesh here, help us out, simultaneously there are legal proceedings underway to clear the merger.
True.
The Sony-Zee merger. Right. So what's happening there?
Okay, so as far as that is concerned, as far as the NCLT hearing for the merger is concerned between Sony and Zee, the next hearing I believe for Zee is on 9th of March and for Sony it's on 15th of March. So these are the 2 days to remember. 9th March is for Zee and 15th March is for Sony. Why I'm saying there are 2 different dates? Because there are 2 different companies right now who approached the NCLT for the proposed merger, which is why there are 2 different dates. So this is something one need to clear about. Whether this will be the last hearing, the answer probably is no. This may not be the last hearing, but the process is going on. It's been going for a while now, and this is the only process which is left. In the entire merger process between Sony and Zee, the exchange approvals, the regulatory approvals, the CCI approvals, the broadcasting ministry approvals, most of the approvals are in place. What is not in place is the NCLT approval. That's the last leg which is required. So that needs to come. But again, as I said, 9th March is for Zee and 15th March is for Sony. The next deadline for the next NCLT hearings.
And this will be sort of the final critical approval that is required to get this merger done. Now, what we don't know, and we were discussing this with Ashmit as well, our colleague who's been tracking the developments in the court in Delhi today. We don't know. Now, these are 2 parallel proceedings, whether they can take place independent of each other, whether NCLT will keep looking at the merger modalities and the regulatory issues over there, maybe clear that or give its view on that, and keep this bigger hearing at the NCLAT on insolvency, whether it will sort of, defer things till that is cleared up, or whether it will give the order on the merger and basically say that here's the order, but it is
subject to what?
Subject
NCLT.
to
Maybe
NCLT that could be the case.
So there will be a parallel process for sure, Surabhi. There will be a NCLT hearing which will go on 9th, as I said, 9th March is Sony, 9th March is Zee, 15th March is Sony, so that will continue. As we said, 29th March is when the NCLT next hearing will come up, right? So that process will go on. So that we discussed extensively. The second option which a lot of market participants have been talking about and questioning, while the amount is very small of just 83 crores, in a big scheme of merger of 1 lakh crore, this 83 crores is nothing, right?
A lot of people are saying, why don't they just pay it off, get it over and done with, and just get the merger done?
No,
right?
so there is a legality to that as well, right? So see, this is a loan of Citi, which is the another group company, and it's basically a promoter loan or it's more to do with the promoters and not to do with the company.
With Zee Entertainment, the listed entity.
Now Zee Entertainment is willing to pay this 83 crore. I, being a shareholder,
will have a
I will
problem.
feel like cheated. I'll have a problem. So I'm going to object it. So that is a legal reason why I guess Zee, even if they have the cash on the books, if you look at the balance sheet, they have pretty much cash on the books, right? But they cannot pay this simply because they have to protect the interest of the minority shareholders of Zee as well. So that's a legal issue why Zee cannot pay off.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, that's one of the basic tenets of corporate governance, that money is not fungible between group entities. You can't, use money from A to pay off debts which are accruing to B. So totally take your point. But Nimesh, another very important technicality from the stock and the market point of view, we got to know that Zee has been moved out of the F&O market. Come May, there will be no F&O contracts on Zee. So given so much happening around, what should traders sort of expect?
Good you asked me this, because I just want to explain what this means for the traders and for investors as well. One, as you rightly pointed out, Zee will not be part of the F&O from the May contract.
Okay.
So this month's contract and the next 2 months contract will continue as it is.
Okay.
That's one news. The other news was yesterday, the exchange also said that from today, there will be 100% margin on the current exposure as well, on the current contracts as well. What this technically means is if you buy in F&O or in cash, the treatment is going to be the same. Like you have to put 100% margin to buy the Zee stock. So in a way, this will cut the bit of the volatility or the excessive speculation on the stock. So that's something to track. The other important thing is why I'm saying the stock getting out of the F&O is not a big thing, simply because this is the way it's going to work, right? The moment NCLT order comes, whenever it comes, after the NCLT order comes, in the next 1 month to 30 to 45 days, the new entity will get listed. Okay, but before that, the old Zee Entertainment stock will get suspended for few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Okay, so any which ways, in whenever the NCLT approval comes, after that there is a very high chance that the stock would anyway get suspended. Because so in a way, it's good that after May there is anyway no contract for anyone to play in the futures market in Zee. So that way, technically, I think they've just preempted this move of stock eventually getting suspended for few weeks and then getting relisted in the merge form. In the merge form.
But that's a long journey.
Long way to go.
We have to wait and how.
But for now, F&O not there beyond May, and the fact that from now on, from every day, 100% in futures market, there is 100% margin, which means it's as good as treated as a cash stock.
Got that. Now, Nimesh, I want us to take a step back and let's talk about the soap opera of the whole story, right? I mean, many of you would already know this. We've been tracking this for over a year and a half. Troubles really started when the SL group itself, the Subhash Chandra group, started getting into some sort of financial problems, business problems, and ultimately they had to constantly keep paring down their holdings in a lot of their group entities to pay off debt, to pay off different vendors. And that is when, help me connect the dots, it's the memory, when you're connecting a soap opera. Invesco was a major shareholder in Zee, and I think Invesco came out and said that Mr. Puneet Goenka should resign. Invesco wants to take charge of the company, maybe come in with the other shareholders. And that was fought tooth and nail by Mr. Puneet Goenka, and that's where the white knight that we call Sony emerged, right? So where is the story going, Nimesh? And I mean, on the street, you talk to so many people. Is there still optimism on the? Let's leave out the legalities. We'll discuss that. On the business, on this asset, is there still optimism on the street?
So there are two ways to look at it, Surabhi. One, from a business point of view. The media business per se is struggling for everybody, and that's been the case for Zee as well. And that's showing up in the quarterly numbers, in the 9-month numbers as well. If you look at the 9-month numbers, the EBITDA margin has fallen from 20% to 14%. So there is pressure on advertisement rates, there is pressure on subscription rates as well. So that leg of the business is struggling for everybody, and that's been the case for Zee as well. Whether there is a merit for the merger to go through, and whether people are optimistic, the answer is yes. Because it's going to create a big conglomerate having almost 1/3 of the market share in the general entertainment side of the business. So that way, there is a merit for the merger to go through. There are a lot of synergies for the merger to go through, right? So in that sense, the investors are hopeful that if this merger goes through, it will be a big conglomerate to track going forward. Also remember, once the merger goes through, this becomes a Sony company. This becomes an MNC company. Okay, so from that perspective, from a stock point of view, people will look this company as an MNC. So there is a hope that going forward, there will be an MNC premium to this as well, as and when the new entity gets listed. So there are merits to the merger, but whether there are challenges for the business, the answer is definitely yes. There are challenges for this business.
I take your point, because I think once you pull in powers, I think that was the expectation on the street, that how you're commanding the advertising market, how you're looking at your OTT plays. By the way, on OTTs, I just wanted to mention here, Vaishya gave us the numbers earlier. On OTTs, for instance, Zee was still struggling in the quarter gone by, in the third quarter, because while the revenue is growing on OTT, the question is profitability, and their losses were actually widening. So OTT, and obviously, the GEC space itself, we need to see what happens. But before that, there are all these legal hurdles to clear. Just very quickly, what could be the biggest perhaps synergies if this were to happen? Though I know we're like crystal ball gazing in the future now, because there are a lot of steps to be completed before that. But what could be some of the biggest synergies from a market, from a stock analyst point of view?
Sure. So first look at what the merged entity will like. What are the things which are getting merged between Sony and Zee? If you can just look at that number. So the linear network will get merged between the two entities. Both the OTT platforms, which is Zee Live and Sony Live, both will get merged. The pictures business, the library business of both these businesses will merge. Right. So and the programming libraries. So there are a lot of things which will get merged between the two entities.
And now, then you can look at monetization.
How the merged entity will look like. That's the big question, right? So they will have a pricing. They will have some bit of advantage in terms of advertising power, right? I mean, the advertising pricing will be to some extent in their hands. So that's something to track. The cost in terms of content. So that will help them in terms of synergies, marketing and employee costs. So that will come down between the two of them. So that's going to help them, and of course a big bargaining power from a distribution point of view. Remember, in a media business, that's a big thing, right? The distribution fee that you pay, and if you have a merged entity which is having a huge market share, you gain on that power as well of bargain with the distributor. So that's going to be another synergy which will help Zee and Sony as well.
So now let's boil this down to the final questions on. Who has the risk appetite to play this for the flip? Again, I'm putting the caveat there. We don't discuss stock recommendations here. We're only putting up questions and analysis, and it's really for you and of course, certified planners to go and make that call. But just the stock journey of Zee has been a very, very interesting one. I remember when the merger news first came out, people got so excited because of all the factors that you named. We were looking at 350, 360. Today it's at 200. So when you speak to people on the street, bulls versus bears, do you think there are the brave mavericks out there who want to buy Zee at 200? There
are people. There are some large funds. There are some large HNIs as well. In fact, the feedback from the market was even yesterday when there was an intraday fall of 15%. Some big HNIs and some smart fund managers did went and bought Zee to some extent. So there is a preference to buy this particular stock simply because we don't have too much of plays as well, right? There are not many integrated media plays, so to speak. So from a stock market point of view, so if somebody wants to play the Indian media business, this is potentially the one big business which they can. And as I explained earlier, right? I mean, this merged entity will be seen as an MNC company, having a Sony as a big promoter, a lot of synergies as well. So there will be some merit for a lot of long-term investors to get into this. Even if you look at the brokerage notes of most of the large brokerages, most of them are in the range between 300 to 350 in terms of target price. Of course, it's a one year forward target prices, but that's the normal range in terms of stock price as well. So there are some long only funds, there are some HNIs, smart HNIs who are willing to bet on this merger and willing to buy it even at this price. So there you have it, your Friday pot boiler. You have bulls, you have bears, you have emotion, you have drama, you have fights, you have
ambition, everything is thrown in, and this is the Z pot boiler, so to speak. Nimesh, thank you very much for helping us make sense of this whole story. The story is not yet over. Picture abhi baki hai those.
Exactly. That's the line should be. Picture abhi baki hai.
So on that note, we will wrap it up. Thank you very much. Remember, keep sending us your feedback, comments, queries. Tell us if you want to talk about any specific themes or any individual companies, and we would be happy to take that up every day, 2 p.m. Who moved the market? Thanks for watching.